Happy Game of the Year 2025 to those who celebrate. Let's get the controversies out of the way first. Every year on my Game of the Year video, I get comments asking about the ranks of specific games. Oftentimes, I simply have not played those games and therefore cannot rank them. But there are 3 noteworthy and divisive games that came out this year that are not on my list because I found them fundamentally flawed in design. In a year with an incredible number of basically flawless games, I simply couldn't justify giving them a place. After all, a Game of the Year list is only 10 spots long. Let's go to the list. Number 11, To a T. In To a T, you play as Teen, whose arms are permanently stuck out, trying to navigate situations like getting ready for school, participating in gym class, and exploring with friends. It's the cutest game ever about why fascism is bad. It's made by Keita Takahashi, who also made the cutest game ever about why capitalism is bad, Katamari Damacy. To a T is about adapting to a world that was not built to accommodate T-shaped people, a thoughtful metaphor for living with a disability. Towards the end, it takes a sharp turn towards grappling with fascism, which demands that everybody fit into one specific mold of humanity, even though people aren't built that way. But isn't it so much easier? Who cares what people don't fit, and therefore get left behind or damaged or totally destroyed? The themes felt a little basic and obvious to me, perhaps best geared towards children. And yet, I read several bad reviews that completely failed to comprehend this aspect of the game. To a T was labeled as simplistic rather than accessible, so maybe this is a lesson that we do need a basic primer on. And what better way to get that lesson than with an absolute bop like the game's theme song? Number 10, Peak. Summit a series of mountain biomes with friends in Peak. I have not beaten Peak. It's embarrassing to say because I think it's actually pretty easy. You just go up and you don't get distracted. But every time I play, I get distracted. Maybe it's because I hike too much in real life. I find undertakings like this are better when you enjoy the process. Look at some trees, investigate a strange bug, smell a flower. Getting to the top is inevitable. Enjoying the way there isn't. So when I play Peak, I dither and open suitcases and get excited about bridges to nowhere. And Peak is fun and goofy and rewards me for getting lost or poisoning my friends. So I've never really seen the point of summiting. As far as I'm concerned, they might as well call it Stroll. Number 9, The Drifter. Mick Carter has returned home for a funeral only to find himself trapped in a conspiracy of murder and seeing eerie visions of monsters. The Drifter has a compelling mystery and fascinating sci-fi premise, built on classic point-and-click adventure mechanics. Based on the work of Stephen King and John Carpenter, The Drifter is a thoughtful, modern approach to both point-and-click mysteries and grindhouse, but one that doesn't skimp on the pixelated blood and gore. And it's a great example of how incredible voice acting can take an already strong game and make it truly exceptional.
As I stare, horrified, the pale mass twitches.
In particular, Adrian Vaughn, who voices Mick, delivers a top-tier performance, carrying the weight of the narrative and selling the emotion and horror woven throughout. 8. Elden Ring Night Rain. Teams of 3 attempt to level up and equip themselves enough to defeat a massive boss before the storm closes in. When they announced 2 new multiplayer Elden Ring games, my excitement was tempered with concern. Would it be PvP? How would a Fortnite-esque storm even function in Elden Ring? And why don't I get a freaking horse? Although punishingly brutal, Night Rain hones in on one of my favorite parts of the Souls games, the bosses. If you're playing right, you largely ignore all the little ads and just bounce from baddie to baddie, dancing around their attacks, healing friends, and unloading ultimates every chance you get. Number 7. Hades 2. Melinoe must use weapons and witchcraft to save her family from the clutches of Kronos, the Titan of Time. Hades 2 iterates on the combat and mechanics of Hades in complex but thoughtful ways. With the sheer variety of boons, magic, and power-ups, it's truly a feat of design that the gameplay feels so smooth and consistent. Supergiant has wisely added more cute animal friends and more relationship activities, so there's more creatures to pet and hangout spots to take friends or crushes to. And most importantly, the game lets you get big. I did a whole video essay about this, and I even interviewed Greg Cassavan, the creative director of Hades 2, about this specific boon, and you can see that here. That said, I found the ending pretty frustrating, and I know a lot of other people did as well. I thought the game was going to be about orphaned child soldier Melinoe coming to the conclusion that maybe violence isn't the only solution.
Furthermore, I've inadvertently caused you to think I've made you better off.
I believe you have. I know no other way.
But instead they give that character arc to Zagreus, who's barely in the game and not the main character. So, in the 7th place it goes. Number 6, The Root Trees Are Dead. And The Seance of Blake Manor. This year was bookended by 2 mysteries with exceptional stories. In The Root Trees Are Dead, you've been hired to determine who gets an inheritance after a tragic plane crash has killed members of the Root Tree family. Using records, newspapers, websites, diaries, and more, piece together the family tree and uncover all their dirty little secrets along the way. I assume people who like doing genealogy are essentially hoping for an experience like playing The Root Trees Are Dead. This mystery is surprisingly tight and well plotted, with plenty of leads, dead ends, and red herrings, and a surprisingly slapping soundtrack. The Root Trees' lives are genuinely interesting, and I felt like I got to know them through the process. The same is true for the characters and mysteries in The Seance of Blake Manor. You've been hired to investigate the disappearance of Evelyn Dean during a psychic-packed weekend. Which guest is the culprit? And which are innocent of this crime, but hiding secrets just as bad? Blake Manor embraces the existence of supernatural entities and then builds interesting mysteries around that. If psychic powers exist, what would somebody do to acquire them? If angels are real, what would you sacrifice to speak to one? Yet, the supernatural elements never felt like a cheap solution. In the end, all of the mysteries were very human. Number 5, Motion Wreck. And ooh! Escape a factory using the ability to record and replay movement in Motion Wreck. And escape the belly of a bird using bombs to propel yourself in Ooh! Both puzzle platformers are superb versions of that indie game structure of having one core gameplay concept and iterating on it in every way possible. In Motion Wreck, you record paths and replay them to get through barriers, activate buttons, and reach points that will replay your loop. In Ooh, you have to use momentum and delayed activation to platform, sort of like Portal, but instead of a gun, your butt is a bomb. Both have puzzle structures that will blow you away with their cleverness, while still being parsable and solvable. They have excellent art, music, and sound effects. They're both packed with secret areas, elevated challenges, and delightful little details. Each game is about 2 to 4 hours of absolute joy. Highly recommended. Number 4. Time Flies. This fly has to complete their bucket list before their short lifespan ends in Time Flies. It's an exploration puzzle game. Some of the goals are very literal, some a little abstract, and some are puns. Many of the items seem a bit lofty for a humble fly, like start a revolution, but that's not going to stop it from finding a way. Time Flies is full of clever gameplay, a variety of interesting levels, and plenty of secrets. I could say more, but honestly, you should just play it. There's truly no better way to spend your time than playing this perfect little morsel of a game. Number 3, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The gommage causes people to disappear if they match the age written on the monolith, which lowers by 1 every year. Expedition 33, composed mainly of 32-year-olds, sets out to stop the paintress from lowering the number before they all disappear as well. Hey, have you heard of this game, Clair Obscur? Oh, you have? Oh, that's crazy. Well, it lives up to the hype. The combat has both flash in the form of QuickTime events and depth with a variety of mechanics that interplay with surprising complexity. I was drawn to Lune's system of elemental stains and finessing her skills to make the most of stains gained and spent. It also has simply some of the best writing, acting, animation, and editing I've ever seen in a game. The cutscenes are better crafted than a lot of movies.
I will never join you again.
There will be a lot of fighting, though.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
There will be a lot of fighting.
Exactly.
Count me in then.
Good.
I was not expecting the game to be this goofy or this French. This would seem like xenophobia if it weren't by a French studio. Clair Obscur has great gameplay, great world building, and it's all backed by a healthy dose of charm. Number 2, Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo. Pippet must team up with Madame, his terrible capitalist aunt, after her soul has been trapped in a yo-yo. Thankfully, he's a yo-yo champion. From traversing the big city to defeating bosses, he and Madame can manage it all. To put it simply, Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo is a masterpiece. It takes a basic concept, a weapon on a string that returns to you, and iterates on it in mind-blowing ways with unlockable special moves and intricate puzzles. Like early Zelda games, it has plenty of side quests and mini-games to distract yourself if you get stuck. There's yo-yo shooting galleries, arena challenges, obstacle courses, and more. Like several games this year, Pipistrello can be pretty demanding of your time, focus, and patience. The trickiness ramps up considerably, and some of the secrets can be quite punishing to get. At times it has that old school feeling of being impossible unless you have 4 hours a day to commit to perfecting it. But unlike some other games this year, Pipistrello and the Cursed Yo-Yo feels so good that I wanted to play it 4 hours a day just to get better. The challenges didn't feel like punishments, they felt like, well, challenges. Number 1 game of the year for 2025 is Blippo Plus. On planet Blip, a bend in space-time has opened, beaming their TV transmissions to our world. But can people travel the bend as well? Blippo Plus is a simulated cable network with short FMV talk shows, teen chat segments, dance, and more. It's an experimental game that projects us into a fantastical world of aura forecasts and interviews with brains in jars. You play by surfing the channels, and when you've watched enough, the next week of programming becomes available, unlocking more of the story. This game has delightful 80s-inspired production design, smart writing, and excellent performances. So did a lot of games this year. But Blippo Plus manages to capture an experience that no longer exists and never will again. The experience of watching network TV while it's gripped by a major national news story. I have vivid childhood memories of watching Saturday Night Live when it was interrupted by the breaking news that Princess Diana had died. That kicked off an unprecedented moment in pop culture, created for and disseminated by this humble box. It was dissected on the news, talk shows, sketch comedies, dramas. It took less than 2 months from her death for the Princess Diana Beanie Baby to ship. Such was the power of television. I still have a physical TV, see him face? But the world it peeks in on is not the same. The airwaves used to sizzle, and now they're like stale air in a dead mall. Blippo Plus revives the TV experience of my youth with an exciting and strange story. Simply put, Blippo Plus is must-play TV. Yep, those 15 games are my top 10 games of the year. Sorry, Blueprints, Silksong, and Silent Hill F. If you want to get a little sneak preview of what 2026's games of the year will be, you should join me on a live stream, twitch.tv/the_Jenna or youtube.com/@theJennaVOD. I live streamed basically almost all of the games that were on this list there first. So if you want to keep up to date with what cool, fun, interesting, weird little indie games are coming out next year, that's a great way to do it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe here on this channel for more videos when they drop. Okay, bye. Hey, have you heard of this game Clair Obscur?